September 26, 1983. Soviet radar screens lit up with 5 incoming American nuclear missiles. Launch detection confirmed. Impact in minutes. The protocol was clear. Retaliate immediately with overwhelming force. One man had 40 seconds to decide the fate of humanity. His name was Stanislav Petrov, and he chose to trust his gut over the machine. The missiles didn't exist. It was a computer error. But what if there had been no human in the loop? What if an artificial intelligence had made that call? Today, we're closer to that reality than ever before. The world's most powerful militaries are racing to hand over life and death decisions to machines that can think faster than any general. But can they think better? Right now, at this very moment, artificial intelligence is embedded in nearly every aspect of modern warfare. The Pentagon's Project Maven uses machine learning to analyze drone footage, identifying targets in seconds that would take human analysts hours to process. Israel's Iron Dome uses AI-assisted targeting to intercept incoming rockets with split-second precision. Russia's Poseidon nuclear torpedo is designed to navigate autonomously to coastal cities, potentially without a human ever pressing launch. And China has publicly stated its goal to lead the world in military AI by 2030, investing billions into autonomous systems that blur the line between human oversight and machine autonomy. But here's the critical distinction. Most of these systems still have a human somewhere in the decision chain, a pilot monitoring the drone, an operator confirming the target, a commander authorizing the strike. The question we're asking today isn't whether AI assists in warfare, it already does. The question is, what happens when we remove that final human safeguard? When the algorithm decides on its own who lives and who dies? Let's return to Stanislav Petrov. On that September night in 1983, the Soviet early warning system, an advanced technological marvel called OKO, detected what appeared to be a first-strike nuclear attack from the United States. The system was certain: 5 intercontinental ballistic missiles launched inbound. Petrov's job was simple: report the detection up the chain of command. Soviet doctrine demanded immediate counterattack. Launch everything. Mutually assured destruction. But something felt wrong to Petrov. Why only 5 missiles? If America was launching a first strike, wouldn't they send hundreds? Why risk leaving Soviet retaliation capability intact? He made a judgment call. He reported the detection as a system malfunction, not an attack. He was right. Sunlight reflecting off clouds had fooled the satellites. There were no missiles. Petrov saved the world that night, but he was reprimanded for failing to follow protocol. He never received a formal commendation during the Soviet era. Now imagine, what if the system itself had been authorized to respond automatically? No Petrov, no gut instinct, just cold binary logic: threat detected, response authorized, missiles launched. Game over. This wasn't the only time a human saved us from machine error. In 1979, NORAD's computers detected a massive Soviet nuclear strike. Bombers scrambled. Missile crews went on alert. The president's nuclear football was readied. It was a training simulation tape accidentally loaded into the live system. In 1980, it happened again. A faulty computer chip generated false warnings of incoming missiles. Each time, humans caught the error. Each time, we got lucky. But military leaders didn't learn to distrust the machines. They learned that humans were too slow. Fast forward to today. The battlefield has changed. Hypersonic missiles travel at Mach 20, nearly 15,000 miles per hour. From launch to impact, less than 10 minutes. In some scenarios, less than 5. 5 minutes. That's not enough time for a phone call to the president. Not enough time to verify intelligence. Not enough time for human deliberation. And that's exactly why militaries worldwide are exploring lethal autonomous weapon systems, or laws. These aren't remote-controlled drones. These are machines that can select and engage targets without human intervention. They patrol borders. They hunt submarines. They guard facilities. And increasingly, they decide who gets killed. The U.S. military insists there will always be meaningful human control. But what does that mean when a general pre-approves an AI to engage any radar signature matching enemy parameters? Is that human control? Or is it just permission? In 2021, a UN report revealed that Turkish military drones in Libya may have autonomously hunted down retreating soldiers without human orders. The drones were equipped with facial recognition and target selection algorithms. Israel has deployed autonomous sentry guns along the Gaza border for years, systems that track, identify, and can fire on threats with minimal human input. Russia has developed the Soratnik combat robot, designed to identify and destroy targets on its own in urban environments. And China has showcased swarms of hundreds of drones operating under a single AI brain, capable of coordinating attacks that no human could manage in real time. The technology exists. The question is no longer, can we build these systems? It's, should we deploy them? And once deployed, can we ever take them back? Here's the seductive logic behind autonomous weapons. They're faster than humans. They don't panic. They don't get tired. They don't commit war crimes out of rage or revenge. They follow the rules of engagement perfectly because they're programmed to. In theory, an AI soldier is the most ethical soldier. It never shoots civilians by accident. It never tortures prisoners. It calculates proportionality with mathematical precision. But theory and reality are very different things. Let's imagine a scenario, not science fiction, just a few years into our future. A rogue state detonates a nuclear weapon in a contested territory. Radiation detected. Satellite imagery confirms the blast. An AI defense system, pre-authorized to respond to existential threats, calculates the optimal retaliation strategy in zero point 0.3 seconds. It identifies 3 missile silos in the aggressor nation. Launch authorization, recommended. But here's what the AI doesn't know. The detonation was an accident. A transport convoy carrying an old warhead crashed, triggering a non-strategic yield explosion. The state wasn't attacking. It was negligent. The AI doesn't understand accident. It sees threat. It sees response. It executes. Within minutes, those silos are destroyed. But they weren't empty. The nuclear-armed nation now under attack interprets this as a first strike. Its own autonomous defense systems activate. Launch on launch detection. No humans are consulted. There isn't time. What began as an accident spirals into global thermonuclear war because 2 machines following logical protocols couldn't grasp the one thing humans understand instinctively: context. This is what experts call flash war. Conflicts that escalate faster than human decision-making can interrupt them. And the risk isn't theoretical. In 2018, researchers demonstrated that AI systems could be fooled by adversarial perturbations, tiny, invisible changes to data that cause catastrophic misidentifications. An AI trained to recognize tanks could be tricked into seeing a school bus. An AI trained to detect missile launches could be fooled by atmospheric conditions, satellite glitches, or deliberate spoofing. We've already seen AI fail in lower-stakes environments. Self-driving cars mistake shadows for obstacles. Facial recognition systems misidentify suspects. Medical AI recommends incorrect treatments. Now multiply that risk by nuclear weapons. In 2021, the UN Secretary General called autonomous weapons systems morally repugnant. Over 30 countries have called for a ban. But the US, Russia, China, Israel, and the UK have all refused. When Because the first military to deploy fully autonomous AI systems gains an overwhelming advantage. Speed, coordination, decision-making under pressure. It's the same logic that drove the nuclear arms race, except this time the weapons can think for themselves. And once one nation deploys them, everyone else must follow or risk obsolescence. This is the AI arms race, and we're already in it. So what can we do? Some experts argue for strict international treaties, similar to chemical weapons bans or nuclear non-proliferation agreements. Prohibit fully autonomous lethal systems, require meaningful human control, enforce transparency in AI decision-making. The campaign to stop killer robots, a coalition of NGOs, has been lobbying for exactly this since 2012. But progress is slow. Because unlike chemical weapons, AI systems have dual-use applications. The same algorithms that guide autonomous drones can navigate self-driving cars. The same neural networks that identify targets can diagnose diseases. You can't ban AI, you can only regulate how it's used. And regulation requires trust, verification, enforcement, all things that hostile nations refuse to provide. Then there's the corporate dimension. Google employees protested the company's involvement in Project Maven, forcing Google to drop the Pentagon contract. But Microsoft, Amazon, and Palantir have eagerly filled the gap. Defense contractors like Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, and BAE Systems are investing billions into autonomous systems. The market for military AI is projected to exceed $18 billion by 2030. This isn't just a government decision anymore. It's a tech industry decision, and the incentives are aligned toward deployment, not restraint. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Humans make terrible decisions in war. We panic. We act on incomplete information. We commit atrocities. We let emotions cloud judgment. But humans also show mercy. We recognize surrender. We understand context. We can choose not to pull the trigger, even when protocol says we should. Machines don't have that option. They follow instructions. They optimize for objectives. They execute perfectly. And that perfection might be our downfall. Stanislav Petrov died in 2017. He spent his final years in a small Russian town, largely forgotten by the world he saved. But his legacy remains the most important lesson of the nuclear age. Sometimes survival depends on someone choosing not to follow the machine. We're now building systems that eliminate that choice. Systems that decide in milliseconds. Systems that cannot doubt, cannot hesitate, cannot choose mercy. And once we hand them the keys to nuclear arsenals, to missile defense, to retaliation protocols, we may never get those keys back. This isn't about whether AI is good or evil. It's about whether we're wise enough to understand what we're building and humble enough to admit that some decisions should never be automated. Because the next time the alarms go off, there might not be a Stanislav Petrov to save us. There might only be the machine, and its cold, logical calculation. The question isn't whether AI will make the final decision. The question is, will we let it?